Life is not as it seems. Paths leading to undesigned destinations. Realizations made evident through the pain suffered, only to be asked one question: who am I? Come with me on the journey through the forest of life, where the empathetic heart meets the cold, cruel world, where betrayal and heartbreak meet care and compassion, and where despair meets fulfillment. The journey is not just a podcast, but a new way to perceive life. Listen in as the journey guides you to the mountains of self-love and the beaches of enlightenment. To become that CEO, that business owner, that amazing leader in your own life, the path of personal growth and development has to be followed. Let the journey help you take your power back and guide yourself to your highest desires. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Journey. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about people that get on my nerves, people that have just seemed to have, done the most in my life, and I allow them to. And so this episode, I'm going in, and I'm not holding back, because I'm really upset about the fact that, we try to have good hearts, we try to do what's right by people, and we know what's, going to benefit them, and we try and give them those things, and then they turn around and take advantage of it. Married to a person that don't respect the marriage, but died to be in the marriage, couldn't wait to get married, and now you can't respect it. Now you're a cheater, you're a thief, you're a liar. People who I turned around and told them, hey, I'll help you out in your time of need. Well, it seemed like your time of need is just like 5 years in making. It's been 5 years and I'm still helping you out. I'm still doing this little stuff and you can't do it for yourself. That's a problem. If you're finding yourself in these type of situations, we got to take a look at ourselves, and we got to really sit back and we got to say, what part of me is allowing this? It's that I'm not saying no. I'm not ready to hurt your feelings. But today, we hurting feelings. Today, we choosing us. There's going to be no more of this back and forth and how you feel, and it's coming down to, how do I feel? The ultimate decision will be made based on how I feel. And if it helps you, it helps you. If it don't, then it doesn't. And you got to go somewhere else and you got to go figure it out for yourself. But as far as the way we're running things over here, we're choosing ourselves every time. We're saying no more than we say yes. So why should you choose yourself? Because it's essential. Like, your mental health is literally on the line. So not taking the actions that you deem necessary for you can cause you to become overwhelmed. You'll be frustrated and ultimately exhausted. And then the next thing you know, you crashing out. You're doing something that is about to impact your life. And then you're going to go and look back on it and going to say that the things that you were doing, it wasn't even for you. It was for somebody else. So not choosing yourself, it can cause other people to look at you as a person that'll just do what they want at the expense of your own needs. And we're not doing that over here no more. People will come into your life and make you think that you're doing things for them under the guise of love, when in reality, if you're doing it based on how they're going to feel, that ain't love. Because you got to love yourself first. You can't love anybody else until you love you. The things that we do based on how somebody else is going to feel, they're totally working against us. Sometimes we do have to tell that friend, hey, I don't really want to talk today. I don't really want to hear your problems. Especially if I've been hearing your problems and you're not working on it. And you are not taking the advice that is being given. So you're really just draining my energy. You're just sucking the life out of me. And I'm allowing it. We have to say no. It doesn't matter how they feel about you protecting your own energy. This is what setting healthy boundaries looks like. It looks like telling people no a lot. Ensuring that they understand that where you're coming from is for you. It's not for them. Okay? Because we're not here to teach people lessons. We're here to learn lessons. If learning a lesson means that I have to tell you no so that I can understand that I need to love me more than I care about solving your problem, then I'm going to do it. So if you get a flat tire on the side of the road and I'm not really available to help you, I'm not dropping what I'm doing to come change your tire. You got to figure it out some other way. And if we all learn to depend on ourselves, we wouldn't be looking for other people to depend on. You would be dependent on yourself. That's why we all get up. We all go to our own jobs, right? Most of us have our own cars. We don't share vehicles, right? We definitely are not sharing spouses. So why would I be sharing all of my other energy? That's counterproductive. And it seems that we're going to probably learn these lessons from the people that are closest to us. We usually don't care about telling the bum on the street, no, you can't have no extra dollar, even though I got $100 in my pocket. We don't have a problem telling them no. You know who we have a problem telling no? Our wife, our husband, our boyfriend, our girlfriend, our sister, our mother, our cousins, the best friends. We have a problem telling them no. And this is where your lessons come in, is you always learn the lesson from the people that are closest to you. And believe me, there's a lot of people out here that don't have your best interest at heart. There are people out here that cannot wait to get something from you, that cannot wait to, pick your pocket for whatever it may be, your energy, your time, your validation, your understanding. They're ready to take it in and they're not ready to give you anything. So you have to be able to step back, look at who you're dealing with, and make the appropriate decision based on your boundaries. I've had family members borrow money and not return it and have all these lame ass excuses as to why they can't pay me back. And you know what that told me? That told me, oh, okay, they don't get nothing else. There is no listening to your excuse. There is no, jumping through a hoop and trying to find a way to make myself feel better about this loss. That's not going to happen. Okay, I've had a marriage that completely was disrespectful, and a person would turn around and ask you for your hard-earned dollars, your hard-earned time, just to go cheat behind your back, just to go spend money that she think you're not gonna see. At a certain point, you gotta put your foot down, and you gotta stop listening to excuses, and you gotta start looking at people's actions. And when we start looking at what people do, that's when we get to the real them. People will tell you who they want to be, but people act who they are. So watch what they do, not what they say. See, if there's one thing that I have learned in being in a relationship and just interacting with people, is that something about me is I was always wanting like the best outcome for both of us. I always felt that I could help give another person a really good outcome, but I never really understood that by me doing that I was negatively impacting my outcomes. Being in a marriage, being in intimate relationships, just, being in all types of relationships, with family, with friends, for one event to culminate in me seeing all of these other events in a new light, in a way that I began to realize that I wasn't really being nice to me, and I was being nice to everybody else. And so I decided to change. That led to me getting a divorce. That led to me quitting my job. That led to me not really wanting to be in relationships for a while, to give myself some space, to really get closer to myself now, to really be able to say, Jimmy, what's going on here? So I took the time, I looked at myself, and I found quite a few things. I found that I had a lot of childhood trauma, that I had been conditioned to be a people pleaser. I had been conditioned to ensure that you're always happy with what I do, which doesn't even make sense now that I, say it out of my mouth that way. But those were the conditionings that I went through. It took a lot to really find the fine line, like Do I tell my kids no all the time? Well, no. But do I tell them yes? I'm always saying yes. And so I got to figure out, where is that fine line to where I can set a boundary. When I did that, I found that when I did it with my children, they were so understanding. And when I do it in other relationships, it seems that they just throw temper tantrums. They just seem to can't handle it. It's suddenly something about them that I don't like, or, what did they do? And so I got to the point where I finally just understood that, hey, this is something that I have to do regardless. I'm over 40. If I expect to live to 80, I've lived half my life. I don't have no more time to be giving up my happiness for somebody else, period. So what I recommend is that if you're going through life's changes and you're finding that things are really difficult, ask yourself one question: where have you not been choosing you? What have you been doing to make someone else happy that's making you unhappy? Because at the end of the day, there's only room for one, you or them. There's never room for both of us. So whenever you are making these decisions, am I going to stay late at work? They're asking me to do X, Y, Z, and I didn't plan on doing it. Now, are you doing this for them, or are you doing it for you? Because there are situations you may have the time. You may say, hey, I was already going to be here. Sure, no problem. Or you may have something to do. You may be like, I don't stay overtime. Y'all don't pay me overtime. I'm not doing nothing extra. So you got to see, where am I not choosing me? And in that searching and finding, you'll see the answer. Now you're going to be terrified to make that choice. You're going to say, if I don't stay, they're going to look at me bad, my work ethic, like I'm going to lose this little extra $120 in overtime. Where are you not choosing you? So you can't put things over you. So your peace, your relaxation, you've done your hard work. You did the job you were supposed to do. You came home to them. Were changed your life. You start holding yourself accountable. You stepped your game up financially. You are now a real contributor, not just to your household and your family, but to the world, to your community at large. You're an asset now. Once you start to begin to choose you, you can start to become an asset. You're not an asset to anybody if you're always broke down, giving up your time, letting people suck your energy. You don't have no money. You're always at work. You're always trying to figure this out. You drive a hoopty car so that you can let somebody else drive a new car, so that you're not choosing you. Stop it. Get off that treadmill. Bring it on back home. Sit down with you. Take yourself shopping. Tell them, no, we're not all going out to dinner tonight. I'm going out to dinner. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go take a walk by the water. I'm not staying late today. You guys have to figure this out, because the minute you figure it out, the minute your life changes. The inner peace that you can now have, that now you can cultivate something new. You may decide to say, hey, I want to quit this job and I really want to be an entrepreneur. I love to paint. I love to write. I like to sing and dance. It will give you that time. You can make that time. We don't have to have movie night every week because you think that you like to watch movies, but I want to sit over here and I want to work on my podcast. I want to work on, investing in my stocks. I want to check that stuff out. I don't have time for this, and I can't care how somebody's going to feel. Here's some stuff that you can do to begin to learn how to choose yourself. Okay. So learn the art of saying no and then start practicing it. No, folks won't like it very much. People never do when you say no or set a boundary, but that's not the case. It doesn't matter. But those that matter won't mind. And in fact, they'll understand and appreciate you for your straightforwardness. Right? My kids totally understood. They had no problem with me telling my son, hey, look, you got to wait. I can't really get this right now. I want to get it for you, but we can't get it now. And he'd be fine with, okay, cool. I just needed to know that it's coming. Okay. Now, mind you, of course, he would bug me and hey, Dad, is it coming? When is it coming? Right. Until I finally get it. But they understood the boundary. So the people that matter, they're going to understand that boundary. Next, practice spending time alone with yourself and without distractions. Just be. That might look like something as simple as a long hot bubble bath. Then again, it might look like a weekend escape to the countryside or a quiet beach. But while you're there, take time to meditate, reflect, start to journal, and think. If you have been doing a whole bunch of stuff in your life right now that's got you to a place that you in here listening to me and you in here trying to get advice from me, then you haven't been doing this stuff. So you need to try it. You need to give it a try and take your time. Go meditate. Go learn how to meditate. Google is free. Reflect. Look back. Look at today, every day. When you get home, sit in your car for 5 minutes and say, okay, how did my day go? And evaluate. That's an evaluation. Journaling definitely helps when you write things down. Just write down how you feel. It may sound like gibberish right now, but I guarantee you, when I started journaling and I go and I look back now and I look back at what I wrote a year ago, oh my God, the difference, the mind blowing difference that I could see in who I am and who I used to be, even what I was battling. So believe me, a journal can be so impactful, especially once you start writing in it. But ultimately, understanding who you are is going to be very key to your new journey, to your lifelong process of understanding how to choose you in a multitude of situations. So I want you guys to high five yourself every chance you get. Mel Robbins just published a great book. It's called High Five Habit. And it's a beautiful, life changing kind of read. Sounds silly, but give it a chance. You'll be glad you did. Choose time, freedom, and stress reduction over a paycheck. Quality of life is so much more important than money. If you're spending 2 or 3 hours commuting to the office every day and then putting in 40 or 50 hours a week, are you really having a good work-life balance? Take that vacation. Don't let it stack up. Use it, because these are going to be the things where you can see all of your tools for choosing yourself are actually self-growth tools. They help you grow. Okay. We got to learn how to start choosing ourselves and learn the art of the leisurely hustle. You'll be amazed at how it changes your life. You'll still get things done. You'll just do it without a sweat. Leisurely hustle. Lay back. When you do it, relax. When you're at work and you got a task, just get into the task. Don't rush it. Don't think about the future. Think about the present. Think about what you're doing right now and just be present for every moment. And you'll see in those moments, as the moments accumulate, the task gets completed, but it's done leisurely. Every now and then, treat yourself to something classic of superior quality and that you really, really love. Do it just because you deserve it. You know, those are the things that really help you to show you that you love you. See, you have to even show you that you love you. The way that you've been showing other people, the way that you love them, is the same way you have to show you that you love you. And even more, you need to be able to grab your oxygen mask first. I'm using this as a metaphor for every situation in life when it comes to, taking care of others, your kids, your partner, your loved ones. If you can't breathe, you can't take care of them. That means doing everything that you can to take care of yourself, to give them your best. It's no good if you can't get up and go for a walk when your kids get, 30 years old, you can't even move and they have to come help you. Now you are burden to your children because you didn't manage your health. So that's one thing, right? And now that you have all of this time to develop yourself, you can now get into your creative aspects. And that can bring a wealth of financial abundance. And with that financial abundance, you can be a blessing to your children. You can be a blessing to your friends, to your loved ones. You know, if you don't fill your cup first, you're you're not going to be able to give anybody anything else. This is something that I see as a concept in life, that whatever you can't give you, you really can't give anyone else. And the reason that I see a lot of relationships going south is because both people are looking for something from the other that they should be looking for from themselves. But once we can begin to give ourselves what we desire to give to others, then can we be a whole person. And then can we come to the relationship whole? In coming to the relationship whole, that means that we have given ourselves enough of what we are about to give you. And this is why no matter what you give yourself, you will give it back out. So if you're giving yourself a bunch of negative self-talk, a bunch of limiting beliefs, you'll be giving that same negative self-talk, same limiting beliefs, you'll be giving that out. And you'll see it'll be a recurring cycle. But once you awaken and you can become aware that I need to give me what I need in order to give you some of what I have, then you'll begin to live a more peaceful life. You'll begin to live a more happier, healthy life. So I want you guys to resist buying things that you really need to make other people happy or impressed. Okay? Do not buy that pantsuit because you think that Shawana at work is gonna be jealous. You're actively cutting yourself off at the knees. The whole mission is for you to begin to first see you as worthy of deserving everything that you want. The love, the relationship, the peace, the joy, the happiness. You deserve that. We all deserve it. Now, mind you, I know somebody's listening going, I know a few people that I don't think deserve it. They did people so wrong and, they act so ugly. What I want you to do when you think of that stuff is I want you to see that, you haven't been giving yourself enough compassion to even be able to give them some compassion. This is how you know that you have to start working on you, and that you have been waiting for others to feed that void, and you haven't been feeding that void yourself. You haven't been putting back into yourself. So compassion comes from a place where you can then begin to have some clarity and some insight, and you can start to see people for the innocent person that they are, even though they have these layers, and those layers are causing them to behave in a way that's negative. And yeah, you may have to distance yourself from them, but when you think of them, you should always see them as that same human soul as you that has to navigate this same world as you, and how difficult it can be. And maybe you'll have a little compassion for seeing them not do as well as you. In my previous relationships, I failed to set and maintain healthy boundaries because I cared more about how the other person would feel more than how I would feel. I settled for less in relationships, intimate relationships, work relationships, and it was just done out of fear of making somebody feel bad. If they are meant to be in my life or in your life, they will understand. And some may even change for the better. Ultimately, you have to change for the better. And setting healthy boundaries, some of us have no boundaries and are bound by how others may feel. Setting healthy boundaries in relationships, whether you're dealing with romantic partners, family, friends, or coworkers, maintaining healthy boundaries can help you strengthen relationships, avoid unhealthy connections, and improve your self-esteem and overall well-being. And a good way to spot these people is when you set the boundary. Okay, you've went in, you've understood that this boundary is healthy for you. And now somebody deems the boundary offensive to them, then you know who they are. You know what bucket they belong in. Either they're coming with you or they're not. So it helps you to avoid unhealthy connections. it helps you to even improve your self-esteem when you start to enforce those boundaries. And over time, as you enforce healthy boundaries, your overall well-being is raised, is maintained. Me, I tend to just leave. I tend to, try to work it out. I tend to say something. I'll speak up, but there's not going to be a bunch of begging. There's not going to be a bunch of, hoping and praying that everything just changes. Once I see that you're not respecting my boundaries, I will take action. And the first action is going to be some distance. And once I get some distance, I can pause, I can think, and then I'm going to take another action. I'm going to make another decision. And I'm going to keep making these decisions around my boundaries because this is how I'm going to live my life in a peaceful, healthy way. So, what are healthy boundaries? Well, you hear the word boundaries and imagine walls that like separate you from other people. In a sense, that's true. But boundaries aren't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, they're an important ingredient in healthy, balanced relationships. They're also a crucial part of maintaining your identity, your mental health, and your physical well-being. Boundaries can include restrictions on physical actions, such as asking a roommate or partner not to look through your phone or not to interrupt when you're working from home. They can also be psychological, such as asking your spouse to accept that your goals and dreams may not always be the same as theirs. And you can see how even uncomfortable it may feel just rehearsing that in your head, saying, I'm going to say this, and how you're going to feel. Well, that's something that I do want to talk about. And I really want to bring that to the forefront right now is the fear that you're going to feel when it's time to enforce these boundaries. Because what you're looking at is you're looking at, well, what's the outcome going to be? Well, what has the outcome been when you haven't chosen yourself? It hasn't felt good. So let's try the other way. Let's try choosing ourselves. And I guarantee you that the outcome is going to benefit you. This is how the universe works. This is why we've been using it wrong. And we've been getting a lot of these negative outcomes because we go in and we want to play the universe. We want to be the one giving people the things that they should be giving to themselves, and while neglecting ourselves. We can no longer play that game that your feelings about my healthy boundaries should impact how I move in life. It doesn't work that way. And like I said earlier, it is going to be the closest people to you that you're going to have to say these things to. It's going to be the people that you said, I love you. And you do. You care about them. But you have to care about you first. See how that goes? If you don't care about you, you really don't care about them. And if they can't respect your boundaries, they really don't care about you. You see, healthy boundaries serve to encourage autonomy and reduce codependent habits. This is why I talked about if you need a tire change and you calling me and I'm busy and I can't just rush to change the tire. See, that means that you need to learn how to change a tire so you can have some autonomy and you won't be so codependent to ask somebody else to come do something you should be doing for yourself. Set expectations when interacting with others. Always set the expectation. And you can do this in subtle ways. You don't have to be belligerent. You don't have to come into the conversation and say, I like it this way. And these are the things that has to be done. But based on the way that you move, the way that you act, the things that you expect, that is setting your expectations. And so you have to be very firm about what you expect. And you have to be firm with yourself about not accepting anything less than what you expect, no matter what it may cost. Usually, this is going to feel like I'm cutting people off. And in a sense, you are. Initially, you are. You're cutting people out of your life who are not helping to, who are not growing with you. And so by cutting these people off, you can then grow. This is like weeds in a garden. When you have weeds next to a plant, it's suffocating. It's taking all the nutrients. It's draining that plant. and those weeds have to be pulled up. So you have to look at, you know, getting certain things and people and, you know, even behaviors, beliefs, getting those things uprooted and getting them out your life, because then the real you can grow. It can give you a sense of empowerment and self-respect. You'll start to feel like you know that your life is going to be good, even though, you know, we don't control the outcomes of what happens. But it just seems that now that I'm choosing me, the outcomes that do take place always end up benefiting me, and then which I can benefit others. Ensure your physical and emotional comfort. Okay, it can clarify individual responsibilities in a relationship. It can separate your wants, needs, thoughts, and feelings from those of others. By doing this and practicing healthy boundaries, you can start to see that, oh, I'm only doing this because I didn't want so and so to be mad. I'm only staying late at work because I want to be viewed as a hard worker, when really you're the best worker that they got. You're the smartest person in there. You are in there doing the boss's job. But you think that working 85 hours every week, every 2 weeks is it that it shows you're a hard worker. It doesn't. Okay. All you're doing is you're taking away time from your peace, from your space, from you being able to work on you. And that shows a lack of healthy boundaries. Without healthy boundaries, your relationships can become so toxic, very unsatisfying, minded. Your well-being suffers, minded. You might feel taken advantage of, you know, especially if a friend keeps asking for money, you know, for example, or feel overwhelmed by stress. If you feel the need to solve all of your partner's emotional problems, it could even be your best friend's emotional problems, your auntie's emotional problems, you'll start to feel overwhelmed. And you have to be able to take a step back, and you have to be able to say, hey, I need some time for me. It's time to go rejuvenate. But if you never have that time to go rejuvenate, you never have that time to go be with you, to really find who you are, oh, you're going to crash out. If you continually ignore another person's boundaries, you know, you may risk them feeling uncomfortable, and that may damage the relationship. So just as well as you have boundaries, you want to respect other people's boundaries as well. This is a two-way street. We all are going to have boundaries, and we all have to learn to be self-sufficient so that we're not codependent. And this is where alone time comes in. This is where fear, doubt is going to creep in. It's going to tell you this is unnatural. This doesn't feel comfortable. I'm so used to being able to just talk to my friend. I'm so used to being able to just, you know, trauma dump all of my problems on this person. Well, that day may come to an end, and see, you'll learn a lesson as well as they have learned a lesson. Unhealthy boundaries often tend to be either too rigid or too porous, meaning that they're just too stiff. Like, these are pretty much unrealistic. You know, like, don't use my stapler. There's tons of other staplers, but the other three staplers are all broken right now, and you're still telling people not to use your stapler. Okay, that's not a healthy boundary. That's a rigid boundary. And some are just too porous. Like, we say yes to everything. Like, it don't matter what it is. You want the last bite of my sandwich for lunch? Here you go. All right, no problem. But healthy ones, they fall somewhere between, you know, these two extremes. Rigid boundaries, keep other people at a distance, even loved ones. Maybe you refuse to talk about your emotions with your partner, or rarely set aside time to meet with friends. Porous or weak boundaries develop when you have a hard time saying no to others. For example, you just might be too willing to take on all the responsibilities in a relationship, right? You go to work, you cook, you clean, you fix the car, you fight the robbers, you make sure everybody has more than you. Like, those are very porous or weak boundaries. Okay. Or maybe you just tend to overshare when talking with strangers, right? You're just telling them all your business, you know, things that are actually kind of making you pray. And it's a lot of predators out there that can't wait to hear a bunch of your, information that you got to give so that they can take advantage of you. And there are many reasons why, people may consistently struggle with these unhealthy boundaries, such as they have a desire to control. Some people use boundaries to manipulate others. For example, a person might use rigid boundaries to stonewall conversations, refusing to engage with you until you do what they want. And a lot of times there's a fear of rejection. If you're afraid of a romantic partner walking out of your life because your flaws, you might hesitate to be emotionally open with them, which, in my opinion, as you can see, this is an example of two people coming together and we're not whole. If you have a fear of rejection, you're really living based on external validation. And that means you really have not been choosing you. You've been waiting for others, for things, for status to choose you, to say you're good enough. It begins with you. You have to start to say, I'm good enough. We all need to be able to have some emotional openness with our partner in any relationship, whether it be a best friend, a mom, a dad, uncle, a co-worker who you guys have been working together for 20 some odd years and you guys are really close. Like, you should be able to have that type of openness. And that's one thing that I can say that I got to experience in my life was that even at work, I used to find that I was like more respected at work than I was at home. And so it really showed me the contrast of, the type of people that can be in this world. And the funny thing is that the, more detrimental one was really close to me. And the one that was really healthy and, helped me grow in life was a little distant, it was coworkers. But I found that people will gravitate towards who you're being. And when they gravitate towards who you're being, they can come in any form. Okay? They can come good, they can come bad, they can come ready to help you, they can come ready to harm you. But it's your job to have healthy boundaries, to be able to spot the difference and to know that these boundaries help protect you. When you enforce these boundaries and you've worked on these boundaries, you've built these boundaries based on past experiences. These boundaries not only have come in the clutch and helped you out, but they're actually helping to propel your life. Those are healthy boundaries. And so, lack of experience with setting limitations, if you grew up surrounded by people who set poor personal boundaries, managing proper ones can be a challenge. You might think that invading other people's personal space is normal because your parents and siblings regularly did it to you. But how did it make you feel? And that is where you have to have some courage to be able to address those uncomfortable feelings so that then you don't have to experience those uncomfortable feelings anymore because they're a result of unhealthy boundaries.